Welcome everybody to Friday Live. I'm your host, Benton, bringing you energy, real stories, and the legends who shaped the soundtracks of our lives. Today we're diving deep into the minds of one of the true architects of West Coast hip-hop, Grammy-nominated super producer David Rhythm D. Weldon. For all of you who may not be familiar with Rhythm D, here are a few key facts on why this man is the cornerstone of the hip-hop culture. He produced one of the most explosive diss tracks in hip-hop history, Real Muthaphuckkin G's, proving that Ruthless Records could still reign after Dr. Dre's departure. He became Eazy-E's right-hand man and in-house producer, living and creating alongside that legend with him during the most turbulent years of gangster rap. He's behind Paperboy's platinum record, Ditty, a West Coast classic that dominated the early 1990s airwaves. He worked with iconic acts like Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, shaping their harmonized flow and helping define their ruthless record sound. And beyond G-Funk and rap era of the 1990s and early 2000s, he's evolved into a visionary producer and mentor, bridging generations of hip-hop sound from Los Angeles all the way to Atlanta. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the architect, the innovator, and the OG of production magic, David Rhythm D. Weldon.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, King. How you feeling?
I'm good. I got a lot to be thankful for. So
I'm into that. Well, people know the music, but not enough about the man behind the music, and we want to change that here today. Right
okay.
here, yes. We want to change that right here on Friday Live.
Yes.
And so let's just get into it. Let's take it back to South Central LA. Let's take it back before the platinum plaques and before Ruthless. What was it like for you growing up in South Central? Can you share with us some of the sights and the sounds that helped shape the mind of your sound?
Yeah. As you mentioned, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and I started getting into music when I first heard Kraftwerk I heard Numbers, a song called Numbers by Kraftwerk. They're a digital funk band from...
They're German, right?
Yeah, they're German. They're from Germany.
All right.
And they created a song called Numbers. Now, the song was very weird, and it had an authentic feel to it. I'd never heard anything like that. And I couldn't have been no more than maybe 8 years old or 9 years old when that came out.
Wow, okay.
And just living in that neighborhood and growing up around the early crack era and when the gangster community started exploding around 82 to like 84, hip-hop had just kind of birthed around, probably like 79, 80 on up to 82. I probably was like 12 years old. And after I heard that song, I can go back further than that. My parents were very into like Ellis Fitzgerald and Dizzy Gillespie and Ray Charles and a lot of the very distinguished musicians that were very popular back then in their time. My parents had me at an older age. And I think, my mom probably was about 39 and a half when she had me. So she came from the days of like the old Jack magazines. And so they listened to a lot of very high intellectual jazz. And when I was a baby, I used to go into the living room and they had an old wooden shaped box, but inside of it was a component set, which was a turntable and radio and all that was considered to be like big time back in the.
So they had like a furniture style console. It was like beautiful on the outside. It looked like a.
Yes.
I know exactly the ones you're talking about. My people had one too. Yes.
And so it had an auto play on it. Once you would click on the the button, the record would slide down on top of the face of the turntable and automatically play, and it would go on top of there. But
warm, rich sound.
yeah, very, all analog. So I was coming up as a child, and I used to go in there and kind of mess with the records and like turn them backwards, and I would get my dad or my mom would smack my hand from. I guess I didn't know what scratching was, but I was very curious about how that.
You might have beat Curtis Blow if you had just stuck with it.
Well, on the scratching tip, probably Grandmaster Flash.
Grandmaster Flash, right?
But
that's right.
No, my parents had a lot of influence on me hearing music, and my mom bought me a old upright piano from the church soul tour, and I started going in and trying to hear notes and how I could actually replay songs that I would hear on TV shows. So one of the first TV shows that I tried to replay was a cops drama called SWAT. And I learned how to play that at about maybe 5 or 6 years old.
So when you just started playing that out the blue, your parents didn't even know that you could really play like that?
No.
By ear?
No. My mom came in one day and she looked at me. She was like, wow, he's really actually on key and really hearing the notes to SWAT. And so so she just would let me, while she would sit there and do duties around the house and handle everything, I would just sit there all day and try to teach myself how to play the piano. So I was kind of self-taught on that. I haven't had any really formal training. But I just always heard music, I would lay in the bed with my, later on I'd lay in the bed with my sister would give me her Sony Walkman, and I would play all of the electro-funk records from It's Time to Planet Rock to all these records, and a lot of Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, Prince, you name it. That was all of those great artists. I would sit there and play that before I would go to sleep at night till the batteries ran down. And so and I would kind of dissect each sound and each instrument in there, collectively, and piece by piece try to hear the snare and the hi-hat and to see the elements that are going on, why it's sounding like this, and what makes it, what makes music be music. It was very fascinating to me.
Like why you feel the way you feel when you heard certain
Yeah,
sounds, and could you reproduce that?
Yeah, that's
to
all
make
I
other
thought
people
about.
want to feel that too.
Yeah, I really wanted to really be behind the scenes in creating the music, and basically, be careful what you wish for. It just ended up being, ended up going from that to me pop locking and really getting into hip hop.
I was going to ask you about that, if you were in the pop lock community.
Yeah, I was around. I would say when Planet Rock came out, it had to be 81, or maybe might have been 10 years old. So I would say between the funk music from Cameo, Zap, the Gap Band, Parliament Funkadelic, and then the electro funk era of the Planet Rock beat, all of those songs started with breakdancing and locking, because before pop locking it was locking. And so locking is what you would probably see if people ever saw that TV show called What's Happening. There was a character on there named Rerun. He was doing what is called locking.
Okay.
And that was very popular back then, but I couldn't very well lock too good until I met a guy that lived around the corner from me, and his name was Larry Cook. And he let me come over his house, and I didn't even know that he knew how to pop lock, but he was ridiculous at it. And he had all the records and he had everything that I would wish to hear. Mm-hmm. He had all these electro funk records, a lot of hip hop records. And I went in there, and he saw me pop locking one day, and he laughed, and he was like, "Hey man, let me bring you around the corner and show you what I do." And he was ridiculous, and he's called himself Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot.
And
right.
then I learned a lot of pop locking moves from him, and then I just started having little dance battles in school, and all of that type of stuff. But that was my early days in being involved in the hip hop culture.
So we're going to fast forward it a little bit to around the time right before you met Eazy-E, and what was that energy like? And when you met Eazy, did it feel like to you it was history in the making?
sometimes when you're living history, you don't really pay attention to the road and the journey that you're going, but I knew something was happening,
You felt it in the
yeah,
air.
I definitely felt it. Because I was over, I don't know if we talked before about this, but I was at Death Row before I met Eazy. And simultaneously at the same time, I had a hit record on Paperboy going, it was actually doing well, but I really wanted to be over at Death Row. And so I would be over there all the time hanging out with Suge. He would actually come pick me up, and I'd go over there and work on Sugar Free.
Suge has a bad rap, but a lot of people say Suge is cool, though, when you really get to know him. Would you find that to be the truth? Or
well,
how was your experience with Suge?
All these guys is like big brothers, whether they're, bullies or whatever. It's like I grew up around nothing but a lot of Bloods and Crips and people in my neighborhood. And, we had this brotherhood of just being from the streets. Some of us were in the streets, and some of us were doing other things, but we were all from the hood. I didn't grow up with Suge. He's a little older than me, but when I finally met him, we were like brothers, you know what I mean? Like, he's way bigger than me, But I never had any problems with him. I just ended up, when I was at Death Row, I ended up meeting Eazy-E through somebody at Death Row that I never thought I was gonna meet Eazy. And I met him through the mother of his child, which is a lady named Tracy Jarnigan. And I started off making some music for her, and I guess I did a good job, and she kept telling me that she wanted me to meet her baby daddy. And
so she was an artist as well. She was a rapper or a singer?
Yeah, she was a rapper.
Okay.
And there was another girl up there at Death Row that I met her through. And, I was like, hey, let me see what happens. And I started doing some music on her. And every time I would finish a song, she would be like, you need to meet my baby daddy. He really needs you right now. And I'm like, who's your baby daddy? And she was like, later on, she kind of told me that it was Eazy. And I was like, wow, you never know where your journey is going to take you.
That's right.
But I had a choice.
Or who's going to help lead you there.
Yeah, I had a choice at that time because Death Row was like really coming in, and they were destroying him, publicly on the radio. So it was a choice I had to make, to be down with Eazy in this camp or be down with the opposite camp. And Eazy needed me more than they did. So it's like being a ball player. You got to go where you're being drafted. And
that's right. And where you could also play.
Yeah, I was first round draft pick at Ruthless Records. So, it was a good thing. And I don't think it hurt that I had a hit song on the radio on at the same time.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, not too shabby at all.
That was cool.
So you were right in the middle of this Death Row versus Ruthless split, and that's a lot of pressure in the pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, it was pretty deep because being somebody that was already over in the opposite camp, in the rival camp, you would say, I kind of knew what sound of music that they were coming out with, and how they had morphed the West Coast sound into G-Funk. Because, just to me, Warren G is the one that I first heard coin that term.
I love Warren G. Yes, that's right. Yes.
And I used to be around Warren and Snoop and, everybody that was up there. They all became like the homies. But what I noticed was during the time when I met Eazy and I was playing him those type of beats, he wasn't really feeling them, and because I was making the sound. And it wasn't until he came by the studio and he heard some of my beats and he told me to come by his house out there in Norwalk. And I traveled out there and I went in there and I didn't have any more G-Funk type beats to play him. And all I had was my own music that I had created with no influence on anybody from anyone. And I was like, I took out a SP 1200 disc, and he took me into the studio. They had a whole bunch of equipment that I didn't have, and I put in one disc, and I was like, I blew it off. I was like, here goes nothing. If you don't like it, then I ain't got the job. So I put it in, and he went he went nuts off the first beat I
Wow.
played, and I just kept playing track after track, and he was like, I'm finna sign you to Ruthless, and pulled out about 6-7 racks out of his pocket, out of his sock, actually.
Out of his sock.
And said, you rolling with Ruthless? And I was
Wow.
like, I guess I'm rolling with Ruthless. So that's
Yeah.
what started the whole journey of me being on Ruthless at a young age.
That's incredible.
You know.
Now, we actually have the original of the real Muthaphuckkin G's queued up. We want to play a little bit of that right now.
Uh-oh. Is it the explicit version?
Now, you produced the beat for one of the most iconic responses in hip-hop history. When you were crafting that beat for Real Muthaphuckkin G's, did you feel that tension in the air that like the world was watching for Ruthless Records' response?
Yeah, I did. It was a lot of pressure based on my experience as a music producer. I was just really getting into the swing of it. And I had to step up my game a little bit because you know who I was going up against, you know. You know, but Eazy believed in me. And, you know.
Oh, that's some big shoes to fill. Let's say his name. We got to go ahead and say it.
You know,
I mean, you took Dr. Dre's place. Like,
Yeah.
that's no small feat.
Yeah, I had.
That's no small feat.
Yeah, I had, you know, the
And
job
he is a
was.
super producer.
The job was open.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, looking back on it, I think that the pressure being on me to come up with something iconic for this particular rapper named Eazy-E, who is the godfather of gangster rap, is what made me step up and be like, okay, let me give this man something that is gonna last forever, you know. And, you know, I probably made about a few hundred tracks before I came up with Real Compton City G's. And I remember like it was yesterday, I was hanging out with my crew, and there was a deli, like a little eating spot called Larry Parker's in LA, kind of like Beverly Hills area. And we used to all go there either before the club or after the club. And so.
And what clubs would you hit back in the day? Century Club?
Century Club, Jamaica House.
Jamaica House.
Yeah, mainly Jamaica House and a few other ones around Hollywood. But I used to hang out with this clique of all, you know, a lot of the artists and actors, you know, young black Hollywood, you know, a lot of them were my friends. And, you know, they all knew that I was on Ruthless. And so we were all in Jerry's. And
now when you say Jerry, you mean Jerry's Deli?
Yeah, Jerry's Deli. Not Jerry's. Was it Jerry's? No, it wasn't Jerry's Deli. It was Larry Parker's. We were all at Larry Parker's, and Yo MTV Raps came on. And when it came on, there was an exclusive video, which was Dre Day. And everybody, once it went off, everybody in the place turned around and looked at me like, what are you gonna do now? And for me, I was kind of glad because they drew first blood. So everybody was waiting on our response. And I had to look at that record as, let me make it a darker, more sinister version of a combination of the G-Funk that he was creating with sampling, you know, Dre Day and Nothing But a G Thing. So if you listen to those two songs, I had to look at it like, okay, I've got to come out and destroy you guys, but I got to give him something that's very iconically on some blaxploitation type, you know, pimp, hustler, gangster type stuff. So when you hear it, it's very cinematical. It's like, this is Eazy-E's coming, and you guys better watch out. And he was really, really an OG Crip. So he had nothing but Compton behind him. And the video was gangster, and it was a real fun time in my life. Very dangerous time, but it was very fun for me to actually learn what my capabilities were when it came to music production and being a musician. You know.
Well, that was my next question for you. Was the studio like war zone vibes, or was it like your ashram where you went to go and be at peace and to?
Well,
how did it feel in the studio working with everybody?
Well, when I first got to Ruthless, I had a lot of resistance based on me being the new guy and all of them being older, and then I'm supposed to be taking Dre's place as a producer on the label. Mm-hmm. So I had a little bit of pushback in them not, all the other people that were around Eazy and them believing in what my capabilities were. And that's what kind of pushed me even harder to make this beat.
To be great.
Yeah, it's like, let me show you what I'm really all about. Like, I'm rhythm. At some point you have to believe in yourself so much that you have to have blinders on to any critics, to anyone who thinks that you can't do what you were born to do on this planet. I'm not trying to be like anybody. Yeah. I'm not trying to sound like anybody. I'm going to be 100% me and make the music that I hear. And so I was able to do that for Eric. But I was well protected, bodyguards 24/7, very nice atmosphere at the studios because I had carte blanche treatment.
Of course,
And
you were the golden child.
Yeah, I was spoiled.
Yeah.
I was actually a spoiled brat producer, but it was cool. And, I learned a lot about myself and how to be a producer being over at Ruthless, because it's a different thing being a beat maker and a music producer. Those are two different things.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our next question, or the next talking point, your versatility, because you just don't produce rap and hip hop. You produce a plethora of music, from jazz to country to pop to rock.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about a little bit of that and just some of your favorite projects you have coming out that are not hip hop related, so to speak. This is a tiny segue, and then we're going to go into another portion. Right. I do want to talk about your paperboard time, because that was a big time.
Yeah. So being a music producer and musician, and being a hip hop producer, they're all kind of like, I would say, in some sort of a mixture in a bowl. It's a culture. And so what I did was try to take the little bit of musician skills I had and combine them with knowing how to make dope hip hop beats and hear music the way that I hear it. If I'm going to be a DJ, I'm going to learn how to do that. If I'm going to be a programmer, because a lot back then was programmed on the drum machine, and you had to know that technology to be able to even make your beats. We had no sounds. You had to learn how to sample your own kicks and snares, and you had to grow your own ingredients to make your sound.
Where there now are kits everywhere. Everybody's buying somebody's kits.
Yeah, nowadays everything is like those little shillings packs that you get in the grocery store to make, where somebody knows how to make a steak for real with just salt and pepper and knowing how to really make the juices really flow with just those two ingredients. Now you're given everything to you for free. And do you find that takes away from the younger producers' imagination and them having their own individual sounds? Like everybody, at least I think everybody that was producing back in the day, they all had their individual sounds. Yeah. Well, we had to make those sounds. Right. And which a lot of them are available for everyone now, the sounds that we made. But sometimes I look at everything like technology changes everything. And I'm not mad at anything that's happening technologically. I enjoy it. What I am concerned about is originality. Once music has now become commerce, from everything from DJing to music production has now become commerce, and it's sell. All these different companies, everything is, sort of like, you too can be the next producer and buy this sample pack. And, it's like all of that type of stuff that's being, forced down the average person's throat, where we didn't have that back then. We didn't know what existed until we created. So now I think music is very repetitive in the actual sound, where we had no influences but greats to look up to and put into our hip-hop beats that we were creating. Now we're entering into the Star Trek world, where music will probably, you won't even have to use your hands anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be, in a minute, you just put something on your forehead and everything will, will just be displayed on the computer. The computer changed everything. AI now is changing a lot. The landscape of I would say, intellectual property is being tested. And I think the landscape of talent is being tested right now. We're at a very low bar. And when you set the bar low, it's like trying to find the tallest little person in the room with a room full of little people. That the tallest person out of them is going to shine. But we all know that it takes a higher level to do different types of music intellectually. And my thing is, I want to keep learning the technology, but I want to use the technology to enhance the given gifts that I have in talent, where I see other people using it to cheat and fake it. And so that's the only concern that I have with the way music is going now.
Well, a lot of the producers now, they don't know the analog game. They only know the digital game. So that's a whole nother set of tools that you have that most producers coming up just don't have. But I'll never forget, I was in junior high the first time I heard Ditty by Paperboy. And it was a party, let me tell you. It was one of those house parties where the parents were gone, and it was just, we were up in there like, yes.
Yeah, that song right there, that was my first hit record.
Man, that joint right there, it still takes me back. Like, everybody was moving in the joint. So, yeah, let's just talk about it. How did you come up with that?
Well, I met Paperboy probably, I would say, late or early 91. Late or early 91. And I met him over a friend of mine. He had a rim shop off of Van Ness in Manchester. Shout out to my homie Anthony McFarland. And used to let all the local rappers come up there and listen to beats. And one day I came up there and I had my SP1200. And Pape showed up, him and a lot of other rappers. And I was playing beats. And Pape heard one and he started freestyling, rapping. I was like, damn, his voice and his flow were dope. And
so iconic, yeah.
He just had a different flow.
Stands out right away.
And I was like, wow, he sound dope over these beats. And so me and him exchanged numbers because, we didn't have any cell phones. And he finally hit me up, and we were on the phone one day, and he was like, man, you know what?
I had to I got to rewind. You said we didn't have any cell phones.
No, we didn't have no cell phones or text messages.
I was like, wow, I just went on a woo.
This is the late 1900s, ladies and gentlemen. No, we didn't have any of that, but we didn't know that that's what we were missing. But
right, no facts.
Long story short, he hit me up, and we were talking on the phone, and he said, hey, man, can you flip Do Wah Ditty by Roger and Zap?
Wow. Okay.
And I was sitting there, and I was like, we're only going so fast in the BPMs, meaning the tempos of rapping. But I really liked that song, but it was super fast. It was really kind of like a country funk record. But we all know how jamming it was. So I was listening to Paperboy rap, and as I was listening to him rap, I was like, you know what? It's gonna be a little bit more difficult for him to spit that fast over the tempo of the original version. And I didn't really want to pay for sampling too much. So I said, you know what, instead of me looping this, let me see if I can break it up and into pieces. This is with no technology. Wow. So I sampled each little piece of Do Wah Ditty, the kick, snare, hi-hat. Some of the kicks had bass lines stuck on them. There was nothing else I could do to that. And I kind of went in there and made my own beat with all of those elements. And then I added my own bass line. I took an 808 and I made it sort of a keyboard bass line. So the deepness of it is really an 808, but it's going through the SP1200. So I'm playing the bass line through the SP1200. And, it was, to me, it was a little cheesy compared to what I'm doing now, but it worked.
It really worked.
Yeah. And so
it
it made a sound. And so that's what kind of embedded me into West Coast G-Funk, is that particular record. And then after that, of course,
I want to talk about Bone Thugs and Harmony, segue a little bit. We're going to fast forward a little bit. And what was your favorite song when you were working with them?
Probably the one I did. I didn't do Crossroads.
Right.
I did a song called Down for My Thing.
Down for My Thing.
And I remember meeting them for the first time. Eazy was like really kind of bugging me and getting on my nerves, because I had the big head at the time. I got 2 hit records. He's like, man, I got this group. I'm telling the CEO, yo, man, chill, bro. I'm in the studio. And he would be like, bruh, if you don't get out the studio and come and meet with this new group that I met from Cleveland while we were on tour. And he was like, they really dope, man. And they rapping fast over slower beats. And I was like, damn, all right. So I came down to the studio, and he brought them all down, and they walked in, and they were super duper fans of real Compton City G's, and we hit it off. And I was like, these dudes, they've got a different sound, but let me see what I can give them. And I created Down for My Thing on the spot while they were there.
That is so dope.
And it had sort of a vibe it had like an East Coast boom bap vibe, but it still was kind of emo. The way that I sampled and made my kicks and snares and took different loops, I made it sort of dark because in the beginning, that's what their vibe was. And they pulled it off and went in there and they spit that song with no mess ups. One right after the other.
What?
They went in. They're all cousins and brothers. So you could tell that they grew up creating the sound that they had. And when they heard that beat that I was making, they went in the corner and they just started writing. And I'm looking at them like, damn, they over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just looking at them. And I heard Busy's verse first, and then Lazy's, and then they went into the booth, and Donovan the Dirt Biker started recording them, and they went in there and spit that whole record.
And the rest is hip-hop history.
Absolutely.
There we go. Now, I want to go back to Eazy. You all weren't just colleagues. You all were closer than that. Y'all were like brothers. I mean, you lived with Eazy at some point.
Eazy, when he met me, he was like, you know what? I think I'm going to be good to this producer. We're not going to have no problems. I think he was trying to, he was so cool. He was like, you know what? He's young. Let me get him out of his mom's house and let his mind be free so he can make music for my company.
Can you tell us, like, what was the day-to-day life like with Eazy? What was your normal schedule? And what was it like working side by side with a legend like him? Once
I moved into the house in Norwalk, my day-to-day life was, I would sometimes go to bed at 2:30, 3 a.m., and he would leave the house and go all the way to Calabasas.
From Norwalk?
From Norwalk.
Wow.
Then come all the way out back to Norwalk and pick me up at 6:30 to ride back with him because he ain't had no sleep. And so I got to see the CEO of one of the biggest record labels. I became like his little brother. Of course I'm taller than him, but I became like his little brother, and I had all the equipment, and I would wake up with him and we would go to get some food, and then we would go and do all the day-to-day operations that he had to do. So I'd go by Priority Records first, and he introduced me to Brian Turner. Like, that's who gave me a deal later on when Eazy passed, So I got to meet Brian Turner. I got to meet the whole staff at Priority Records. I was just learning and soaking up game. And, one of the things that he did help me get back, and, God rest his soul, he got my publishing back. when it was being taken from me. And that's the first time I really saw some gangster shit. You know, it was deep, you know.
Now, when you say your publishing was taken from you, who took you? Who
Well,
took it?
the whole Paperboy record, I produced the whole record. Now, I'm young. These morons told me that they couldn't get a label distribution deal unless me and Paperboy signed over our publishing. Now, at the time, I didn't know what publishing was for real. Mm-hmm. And in parentheses next to all the songs that were written, it was these dudes' names and their ASCAP and BMI, as if they've done any production or writing. They didn't do nothing.
Wow.
So fast forward, every time I'd be in the car with Eazy, Paperboy the Ditty would come on the radio. I mean, they were playing that song like how the Thong song was playing. And we're driving one day, and Eazy, he's like, man, you about to be rich. This song is blowing up. He was like, I know you got your publishing. And I was like, publishing? And he was like, he turned the song down and was like, you didn't sell your publishing. He pulled over and he grabbed the CD and he looked at the liner notes, because, you know, back then you could open it up and read the credits.
Yeah.
And my name wasn't anywhere, only in big bold letters, produced by David Rhythm D. It was like I produced the whole record but didn't have any publishing. And he was like, tell them fools to come down to the office. And so I invited them down. I think they thought they were going to get some kind of deal or whatever. He went in the room, and 30 minutes later, I had a check for like 75, 80 grand. You know?
So you weren't in the room when Eazy handled the business?
So
you were just sitting outside? So he was like, let Big Brother take care of this.
Yeah, him and Jerry Heller. Yeah.
Him and Jerry Heller.
Most
wow.
definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
So they were like, I had a very incredible time with that label. It was a very good time from my youthful career. Probably one of the best times of my life was was becoming a producer on Ruthless Records. You know.
Now, were there any tracks that you produced with Eazy that never came out and saw the light of day that you would want to come out, or?
Well, not anymore. I produced the whole Impact of a Legend album, and that came out around 2001, 2002.
So after that came out, you were happy?
That was pretty much, I did that whole record. And I took a little bit of his vocals that he had, because he wasn't like Tupac. If he didn't have writers, he wasn't writing every day. So he had a little bit of songs here and there. Some I had produced, which was cool. So I took the 2-inch reels. Technology was up to par. Pro Tools was good. So I was able to line his vocals up and make new songs, as well as pulling the old songs up. And,
thank God for technology, right?
Yeah.
In that case, especially.
Yeah.
Now, looking back when you realized that music was changing and technology was changing, the sound of West Coast hip-hop forever, how did you see yourself fitting into all that and the wave of the change that was going on?
I just really wanted to be innovative. And I figured if I stayed in my own head when it came to what I heard, that my sound would prevail through any new genres that were coming out. So I just basically stayed focused on being as innovative as I could with my sound, as well as learning all of the new genres that were out in being in competition with them, as well as being in my own lane. Because I never want to lose sight of what's out there. Because once a market is there, unless you have a great deal of money behind you from a label or a production company, it's harder for a musician to get their new sound out there, because everything is promotion. And you need promotion behind any new product.
That's right.
So,
you're now starting to touch on the next point I was going to ask you, and that is, like, from the 90s to today, the sound has changed so much. Staying true to your G-Funk hip-hop roots, how do you bridge that world with the modern, like, trap world today?
Well, the term G-Funk got coined, and I don't know who made it, but the first person that I heard make it was say it was Warren G. To me, it was the derivative of what Dre had started on that last song on the NWA album, Always Into Something. And I think that this is just my opinion, I think that he took that Mini Moog sound that he was using. It was a keyboard called the SY85 with that high-pitched whistle. And I think he made that and morphed it into what ended up being the G-Funk sound outside of what my good friends Hutch and Cocaine and all them other colleagues over at Ruthless were doing what they were doing. Because, you know, Hutch and Cocaine, like Cocaine is like the new George Clinton. And so he could sing like him. He was dope rapping. And you got Hutch as a producer that produced Above the Law. So I think all of that morphed together created the sound. That's just my opinion at it. But as all of that was going on, I still had my own thing that I was doing. Sometimes you can't help what you get caught up in the actual business. You know, they'll coin me as a G-Funk producer because I've produced gangster rap and I was part of that era. But I would just like to be a music producer, you know. And sometimes you get into Captain Kirk syndrome where people only see you based on how big you were on something. Like, we're always going to think of William Shatner as Captain Kirk, no matter if he had T.J. Hooker or any of these other shows, because that's what, you know, people have different moments in their lives, whether they're graduating or getting married or going through something, they hear your music and they get, you know, that's you. But yeah, I really looked at the way that I was doing music, and I tried to really stay as authentic as I can with my own sound.
Are there any misconceptions about you from that era that you would like to talk about or maybe get straight while we're talking about it?
No.
Other than you want to be known as the producer, the full producer you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't say I don't want I just look at myself as a music producer. And you can't get mad at what everyone else sees you as. You have to be grateful for what the success that you've had, and I try to keep my humility into what people love me for. So of course I get the request to make those type of beats all the time.
Sure.
Because my fan base, most of it's on the West Coast, and once when I moved to Atlanta, I didn't really know how much they loved the sound.
That's right. So that's the next thing. So you moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I won't say recently, but you've been going back and forth for some time.
Yeah.
How did that change your sound and change your business ethics?
I would say maybe around 2002 is when I started going out there a lot. I met a cat named Super Slip. Shout out to Super Slip, and he introduced me to Bone Crusher, and Bone Crusher ended up knowing a good friend of mine, and I ended up segueing into the Atlanta life through Bone Crusher and being out there all the time. So I would go back and forth, and I really wanted to study why their music was the way that it was.
Outkast.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of people, like Outkast was just dope. And they were funky, and they were hip hop, they were funky, they were R&B, they were gospel, they were rap, but they weren't trap. They were just dope.
How did trap get started? I know it started in Atlanta, but who would you say was the first trap artist to break through Atlanta?
Ooh. I would say, from my knowledge, there's a collective of that. Some people would say Gucci Mane. Some people would say T.I. I look at the producers, people like my good friend DJ Toomp and Zaytoven. To me, they were the pioneers of the actual beat of trap beats. And then there's a lot of other ones. So you know how you create a sound the same way that we did out here in L.A. with gangster rap. Others follow suit. You can't, when you become the Pied Piper of something, everybody follows suits and they get better and better. The technology gets better. So I think what I learned was the culture a lot out there. It's very college, strip club, and doughboy. And doughboys are the drug dealers that stay at the trap house. The trap house is considered you're trapped there. It's a life that you're trapped in. It's very dangerous. You're selling dope out of there. So trap music, like gangster rap, authentic history is in the selling of dope and the doughboy that has the money, money. You balling out of control. The gold chains, the cars on big rims, the gold teeth. All of that is the way of life in Atlanta with that particular music. And so the same way that we created G-Funk and gangster rap beats, they made their own sound, and they took the 808 and turned it into something incredible technologically. So the beats with the quadruple hi-hats and the 16 triplets and all those different types of rhythmic patterns came suit from the drum machine, then on into a program called FL Studio, which used to be called Fruity Loops. So,
Fruity Loops, that's
so
right.
it became, trap beats are very technologically dope. So the guys out there that, like 808 Mafia and so many others, shout out to Javar Rockamore and the Loopholes and so many of the other artists and producers that coined that term in their beats. Those beats are very technologically created on the computer and the drum machine. You can do them both. But the better you are at being advanced technologically to make these patterns and be as dope as you can be with that technology is the same way that we were in chopping up and making hip-hop beats and gangster beats.
You're spitting a lot of gems right now. Like, really.
I need a drink of water. No.
Yeah, I know, right? No, please feel free. We got that bottle for you. There's going to be a lot of young and upcoming producers listening to this show. And what is that one gem that you want them to take away from this show that you could give to them right now?
Ooh.
And I'm going to have a drink of water, too, while you do that.
I got a
shout out to Fiji Water.
Pocket full of gems, but
I bet you do. I bet you do. But what's that one that they really need to take away with them when they're pursuing this industry?
Okay. Genres are created by somebody. That somebody, whether they're known or not, coined a genre that everybody follows suit to. So whether it's jazz, R&B, rock and roll, whatever it might be, throughout the decades and years of music, symphony, orchestra, there's always been someone that changes the genre or adds to it. I would say, in my experience as being a producer, try to stay in your own mind, in your brain, in your thoughts, because our brains are like, they catch frequencies on ideas. So get off your phone, get off of YouTube, and just think of the original music that you can make without any influence. If you can do that, you'll go very far. That's all I can tell you.
I think that's great. That is a great gem right there, truly.
That's just the way I look at it.
Sure.
I didn't have so many things to throw me off of what idea came in my head. If I create and I'm sitting there creating, all of a sudden I go on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, I'm seeing a plethora of everybody's ideas and this is what you should do, and and I'm sitting there like I just lost the thought that came to my mind. I wouldn't have been able to come up with Real Compton City G's if I had all of these distractions. I only focus on what the universe sends to my frequencies, and I heard this beat.
And you got to quiet your mind to hear that frequency.
Absolutely. Now we're plummeted with everything.
Yeah.
And so if you came up with an idea, you'll look at some other video on some other chick that's got a new idea on an outfit or a podcast or whatever it might be, and throw you all the way off, and you'll, not you per se, but you'll be thrown off your task and your goal. And if your goal is to be original, I would say follow the rule of originality, because originality has no competition.
That's right. That's right. You all heard it here first. Originality has no competition.
Not at all.
None.
None.
All right, so we're going to listen to a little bit of Snoop Dogg's Who Am I? And we're just going to get into a little game I like to play before we wrap it up. And that's a little game called Rapid Fire.
Okay.
You're not going to think. We're just going to tell the truth. When I ask you a question, no overthinking, no long stories, just the first thing that pops in your mind. Okay.
Professor Xavier this.
Okay, here we go. One beat you wish you made.
One beat I wish I made. Play at Your Own Risk by, what is the name of the group? By Planet Patrol. Play at Your Own Risk.
I like that.
Okay.
One artist you still dream of producing.
Rihanna.
Studio gear you can't live without.
Headphones.
If you could redo one decision in your early career, what would it be?
Nothing.
Wow, nothing.
Because that's what led me here.
Wow. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, last question. Describe your sound in one word.
My sound is magical. Because I am the genie I am the genie Rhythm D, and my sound is called Intense Method. It's tattooed on me ever since 1989.
Nice.
That's what this tattoo is.
Okay.
It's what I created based on New Jack Swing coming. I had to have my own sound. So that's what I was telling you earlier. I've been Rhythm D for a very long time, and I can only come into something being myself. I think when you look at all of the people and stars and producers and actors and all that, the ones that are authentically them prevail.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, David Rhythm D. Weldon, we want to thank you for coming in here on Friday Live and blessing our mic here at Lancer Radio. And before we leave and wrap it up, we just want to give you a little gift. Want to give you an official Lancer
For
Radio.
me?
Yo, we had to get a big extra size.
For me?
Yeah, some headphones. You said you want those headphones. We have some
yes.
pins for you.
Thank
so just
you.
a little,
Thank you.
some goodies from Lancer Radio to let you know how much we appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate you.
And I just want to say, I know you're going to be doing some great stuff next because legends don't die, they just remix.
I have a lot in the works.
I bet you do, and we cannot wait
back.
to hear about it.
Thank
You
you.
all go and follow Rhythm D. Where could they follow you at?
Right now, just follow me on IG or TikTok at Rhythm D. And that's pretty much it. RHYTHMD. That is how you spell my name.
Okay.
Not Rhythm, not Rhythm. It seems like that's the hardest word to spell. Even Pac spelled it wrong when he wrote my name in that book.
Are you
But I
serious?
couldn't be mad at Pac.
No,
I was like,
you cannot be mad at
I
Pac.
was like, okay, Tupac, that's what's up, my dude. So.
Real talk.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, where you heard it here on Friday Live, I'm your host, Bo Benton, and it has been truly a pleasure having you here, David, with us.
Thank you.
You all stay tuned for the next amazing episode, bringing you energy and nothing but the realest of the real. I'll see you next time. Thank you.